We get a response from the White House today to the interview that has much of the nation talking. Stormy Daniels broke her silence on 60 Minutes last night about her alleged affair with the president in 2006. There were a few bombshells, but this story caught some attention. The adult film star claims she struck a deal with Mr. Trump's lawyer to keep quiet after getting a mysterious warning back in 2011.
I was in a parking lot going to a fitness class with my infant daughter. I was taking, the seats facing backwards in the back seat, diaper bag, getting all the stuff out. And a guy walked up on me and said to me, "Leave Trump alone, forget the story." And then he leaned around and looked at my daughter and said, "It's a beautiful little girl. It'd be a shame if something happened to her mom." And then he was gone.
She signed a non-disclosure agreement months before the 2016 election when the affair story resurfaced.
You thought that there would be some sort of legal repercussion if you didn't sign it.
Correct. As a matter of fact, the exact sentence used was, "They can make your life hell in many different ways."
They being?
I'm not exactly sure who they were. I believe it to be Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter to Daniels last night saying his client had nothing to do with the threat that she alleges. The White House also pushed back on the allegations earlier.
Thank you. Was the president aware of a physical threat made against Ms. Daniels when she was with her daughter back in 2011?
Well, the president doesn't believe that any of the claims that Ms. Daniels made last night in the interview are accurate.
He doesn't believe she was threatened?
No, he does not. With respect to that interview, I will say the president strongly, clearly, and has consistently denied these underlying claims, and the only person who's been inconsistent is the one making the claims.
Meanwhile, Daniels' lawyer is teasing that evidence of the alleged affair will come to light in the coming weeks.
Again, we're not going to get into the details of everything we have at this time, and there's a reason for that. We're in the very early stages of this case. We understand the American people want all the information right now, immediately. It would make no sense for us to play our hand as to this issue, and we're not going to do it. I'm not playing games. There will be more evidence. It's just not going to happen right now.
Well, they've also just slapped a defamation suit against Michael Cohen. Okay, so obviously continuing to have developments in this case for an affair that is alleged to have occurred quite some years ago. One of the things, Greg, that people are seizing upon was that there was an alleged threat made, intimidation to get her to be silenced, but now you see there's already a legal action regarding that.
The interesting thing, for me, I thought it was a big letdown. The verifiable information is well established and old news. Finding out again that Trump might have slept with a porn star is as shocking as Mike Pence not sleeping with one. I've heard better tell-alls from Harpo Marx. There wasn't anything there that shocked me. And I think Trump is like any choice you make with the flaws understood beforehand. And this is important because Trump's follies, or how he was as a man, are well documented for decades. The election proved that they were factored in by half of the population already. So to continue to scream about the fact that he may not have been a good husband or he cheated on his wife, which are the same things, that's like moving to Seattle and then every day complaining about the rain. You move there. The election happened. It is like it's like how conservatives complained about President Obama's inexperience after he'd been elected and just kept complaining about it. He won. So it's that debate is over. So I think the one thing I would do is, unlike Hillary Clinton and the media, I'm not going to trash a woman because of sexual claims. But it's safe to say that America can accept a billionaire extrovert with unlimited options in New York City and wasn't a great husband.
All right. Familiar story. Okay, Dana, what do you make of this in terms of the communications on it, the interview last night, and then now the reaction the next morning?
Well, so Raj Shah did the briefing today during the 2 o'clock show, and I'm watching it and thinking, wow, he's doing a great job of basically not giving this story any more oxygen, sort of starving it from being able to advance. But his answer to the MSNBC or the NBC reporter, in which they deny all underlying claims, just ensures that they will continue to, meaning the media, everyone's going to continue to cover this story, because what she said on 60 Minutes is that I don't want to be called a liar. Okay, so she's counterpunching when it comes to that. When it comes to the lawsuit, so apparently she would owe $20 million as of today, because apparently she's broke the NDA so much that would be worth $20 million back to Cohen. But then they countersue for defamation. So I legally legally, I don't see where this ends. It does remind me a bit of the John Edwards story that comes out because of the National Enquirer's investigation.
Yep.
And then it was about the whole thing of like they're paying people off in order to protect him politically. That's why I think the story also has legs. I don't think it is as important as other things. I also can understand why Democrats are thinking, oh, look at these Republican hypocrites. They cared so much in the 1990s. Why don't they care now? Yes, but also, aren't the Democrats in some way dealing with what they did during the 1990s when they ignored it and excused it?
And those were those were assaults, brutal assaults.
There are so many hypocritical discussions going on back and forth that in some ways I wonder, is there a way that they get to a settlement between the two of them? Because otherwise I don't see how the countersuing ends.
Yeah, because it's back and forth. But yeah, it's $1 million for each time she violates it. So that's why they said they're up to 20. So good luck with that. Yeah, Jess.
Yeah, Democrats politically are laying low on the Stormy Daniels thing because they've defended Bill Clinton for doing much more than this, allegedly. And they're letting the media go on the attack, and that's fine. It's just interesting, back in the 90s, the media was defending the president and going after the women, and now they're defending the women and going after the president. But that's fine. You know, the Republicans did overplay their hand in the 90s, and Bill Clinton wound up in a pretty good position politically at the end of his second term. But to going back to what Greg said, I mean, if it's true and the president did have an affair consensually with this person over a decade ago, I don't think the American public cares that much. It wasn't a Me Too thing. It was consensual, and just technically, she hasn't provided any evidence to prove that it actually happened. And 60 Minutes, I don't think enlightened us that much of anything. We'd heard a lot of it before. The only substantive issues are, one, was a threat made? Two, was there a campaign finance law violation with a payment before the election? And then three, does she have any pictures or video to blackmail the president with? CBS didn't do anything to show us any of that information, and that's fine. And right now, it looks like sex sells because they got a great rating, but a lot of that had to do with the anticipation and the fact they came off of the Duke-Kansas overtime game. But, you know, politicians usually can get away with this, but if they can't, it's for a few reasons. One, they're holy rollers. You know, and then there's the hypocrisy thing. You know, you're pro-life, you pay for the abortion for the mistress. Two, if there's scandalous video that's going to come out. Three, if it's an out-of-the-closet situation like a Larry Craig. And then lastly, if there's public taxpayer money that's used to facilitate the affair. Right now, Mark Thiessen had a really nice piece in .com where he said the reason why evangelical voters are sticking with the president is because he's defended religious liberty. He's been very pro-life. He spoke to the March for Life march, and he appointed Gorsuch, and he's been very, very good on those issues. So he's kept his promises, and right now it hasn't moved the needle in terms of the base.
All right, so Juan, what did you make of this? And sort of the expectation level seemed to be quite high in terms of what was going to be released on 60 Minutes. Uniformly, the people said it was not much there.
Oh, no, I think people liked it. And if that's the issue, I mean, what Jesse referred to as the ratings, the whole tawdry aspect of it, the president of the United States being dragged through this kind of sexual scandal, I think caught a lot of attention. I think I read that it was #1 on Twitter.
Well, I think people were watching it with a big expectation level, but...
No, I think that what happened, you know, was that, one, it's news that a woman would be on national television on 60 Minutes talking about sex with the president in this way when the president's wife had just had a baby and all of a sudden just revealing about his character.
It's news because it's news.
No, it's news because I don't think we've ever seen a woman on 60 Minutes or any television talking about this kind of thing, about, you know, her sexual
So it's
adventures.
news because news is
Will
doing
you
it.
stop for a minute?
No, I'm pointing out your logic.
I'll tell you what, you do the whole damn show. Okay, so
Gee whiz.
it seems to me like we have a situation where you have somebody come out and do this unprecedented act, and then you have a situation where she seems to be telling the truth. And I think there was lots of question, is this woman a truth teller, or is she simply self-aggrandizing or taking advantage of this moment? All she is a stripper or whatever, and, you know, he's the president now, so she's trying to make something of it. But you notice that Trump hasn't said much about it. And even today, when I was looking at it, I thought to myself, wait a minute, she's only one of three, because then you've got the Karen McDougal, you've got Summer Zervos. And now, in the Summer Zerfos case, the judge has allowed that charge to go forward, and potentially the president will have to be deposed, and that will put him on the record. Again, this is tremendous danger in terms of his political stability, and I think that's where this is going. The other point is, if she's telling the truth about the payments and being threatened, well, then you have potentially a Federal Election Commission violation in terms of, contribution to a campaign, because it was done to advance President Trump's campaign at a critical moment just before the 2016 election.
Mr. Williams, can I respond now to you?
You can respond, but I get tired of you interrupting because I don't do it
Juan,
to you.
you are the king of interrupters.
Oh, stop.
Imagine if the press liked Donald Trump. They would say, this is just sex. If you remember the argument, this is just sex. And they would also impugn our country, and they say that, gee whiz, our puritanical values are being laughed at by the progressive Europeans who understand that our world leaders have affairs. But somehow that goes out the window now. 60 Minutes is now the puritanical American program.
Mm-hmm. I would say about this lawyer, I think his name is Avenatti, and he's worked for about 150 Democratic political campaigns, for Joe Biden, for Rahm Emanuel. He's sued Trump before. He sued The Apprentice. He sued Mark Burnett, and he's a Democratic donor. So a lot of this has to be viewed in the political context, and he's teasing this information that's going to be coming out. I mean, if you're going to bring out the information, why not put it out on 60 Minutes when the whole country's watching? So I don't know exactly what he has. It could be that he has nothing. The whole Stormy Daniels thing, a lot of these people think, on the right, that this is like the new Russia thing. First it's Russia, then he's racist, then he's a traitor, then he's mentally ill, and now he's this, lying cheater. After a while, the country looks and says, show us the proof, show us something that we can sink our teeth into, and if not, just leave the guy alone.
Well, I don't think there's much doubt about what she's saying at this point. I mean, if you guys are making the case that we should not be so upset because, gosh, they had sex once. What's the big deal? It wasn't an extended. Well, the other woman says they had a several months affair. But I don't get it. But to my mind, the trouble and the issue here is, does it move the political needle, the base? And you're saying it doesn't move the base because everybody just sees Trump as under siege and therefore don't pay. I just don't think most Americans feel it. Most Americans are saying, seems to me like we're in constant chaos, and this guy invites a lot of tawdry behavior that I don't even feel comfortable talking about with my kids.
What's also much in the past, they're bringing it up now. I think there are political and financial motivations
Well, I think
involved.
that one of the reasons, though, we have to remember, the reason that this came up again is not because she didn't break the silence first.
Right.
It was the Wall Street Journal's reporting that reported on the payout from Michael Cohen, and that's what started this whole ball rolling. Because otherwise, we might never have heard about this. So it was sort of good old-fashioned shoe leather reporting that gets us to the article that then she says, well, wait a second, I'm not going to be put in this position, and we have the back and forth. The one thing about the lawyer constantly saying, we're going to have more, we're going to have more, the news cycle changes so fast these days that when you tell us that you're going to have more, you better mean by 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay? Otherwise, we're going to lose interest, or we're going to think you don't have it. And I think the longer they try to drag this out, you have to ask. I don't think that we got to the final answer last night, which is, what is the end game? Like, what do you want? And I can understand what Michael Cohen's wanting, that defamation suit, the NDA he thinks should be in place. So they want it just to stop. It's not going to stop.
Yeah, now she's
so I don't
suing
see
him
how
for
it
defamation.
ends.
So now
The
he's
end game
involved
is
personally.
impeachment. That's what this is about. This is when each road to impeachment ends up a dead end. Then the great thing about Stormy Daniels is it sprouts another leg. Something else happens. Oh, there's more of this. I have pictures, something to come. So all this is it allows the media to breathe into a paper bag over Trump.
Right, they want to hyperventilate over it, but yes, at the same time, it's like also a distraction to what we're supposed to be focusing on in the country about something that was a consensual relationship back years ago. I'm rapping. Ahead.